How's it going, everybody? Anthony or Deathkiller here. Hope you're having a good one. No, I am myself. And today, I'm going to be giving my 1-year review of RuneScape 3. To give a bit of background on myself, I have played RuneScape 3 since around 2006, the same year Hunter came out, until EOC came out. At which point I quit primarily to play World of Warcraft and not because of EOC. It was completely unrelated. It was just a coincidence. From there, I played old RuneScape since the singular day it came out on day one up until 2019, at which point I started moving away from old RuneScape, as some of you who watch my channel may know and I have mentioned. That's a completely different discussion for another day. I started playing RuneScape 3 again a little bit over a year ago, and additionally, I made my main character an Iron Man. So while I have dabbled a tiny bit in regular characters in RuneScape 3, my primary view on this review is going to be a bit more on the Iron Man side, but I think this is fine because the game is pretty parallel, with the only difference being that it just takes me longer to grind out my non-combat stats, so just keep that in mind. That all being said, let's get right into my 1-year review of RuneScape 3. Let's start things off with what some people will see first, and that's the tutorial. The tutorial is exactly the same as the original, the tutorial island. They removed this years ago, but it seems they brought it back, and now it's the first piece of content a brand new player will see. While the tutorial island does a very good job for old RuneScape, it feels a little pointless for RuneScape 3. Part of this has to do with the more complex systems and UI that RuneScape 3 has over old RuneScape, but primarily it just feels like it doesn't show you much outside of the how to interact with the world. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it also feels a little unnecessary since right after you get off Tutorial Island, you get moved to the next part of the game, Berthope. Berthope and Tal'Vor are the starting areas of RuneScape 3, and honestly, this is a great idea. The entire area serves as a beautiful and well thought out intro hub to a new player. You can do a wide variety of activities here and have both free and easy access to other parts of the world. The only issue, in a blunt, honest opinion, is that it makes the entire tutorial island feel useless since you get another tutorial, in my opinion a better one, via the path system once you get to Berthope for the very first time. Doing the tutorial, or new player path, or whatever it is called, introduces you to a lot of the basic systems in the game. You get asked to acquire materials for armor and weapons, as well as how to cook and catch fish so you can heal yourself in combat. My main complaint about this entire tutorial in Berthope is actually the combat portion. Arguably the most important piece of it as well. The combat portion just tells you to click, but overall does not really teach you how your abilities work and how they interact with combat and the monsters you're going to be fighting. This definitely needs some work. Past that, one of the best design features of this new player path system is that you can freely just leave it and move on to exploring the world and features of the game how you see fit. Honestly, this is a very underrated design choice by Jagex that needs to be praised. I can't tell you how many MMOs and games in general just lock you into a tutorial. Even modern World of Warcraft locks you into the tutorial island of the game until you complete it for the very first time. As you start exploring the world and the features of the game, you're going to run into one of the biggest issues with RuneScape, and that's how overwhelmed you can be at the very beginning of your adventure. RuneScape has a ton of features and contents within it, and as a new player, it feels like you have a mountain of tasks to do where you can even think about the idea of doing newer content. While this philosophy is not actually true, as a new player, you get that feeling from just how much content there is in the game. To combat this, I did something a lot of people may shame me for, but it helped me massively. I went and used a progression guide for my Iron Man. This helped give me a roadmap of things to do on my character that I, a new player, did not have to come up with on my own. Additionally, it allowed me to take a break from said path to go and explore the game in whatever way I wanted whenever I saw fit. Honestly, the latter is what mostly happened at times, and eventually, as I got more and more comfortable with the game, I just full on stopped even looking at the guide and just never really messed with it. While I don't think the game needs a full-on linear do X, now Y, then Z until you get everything done, I do think an easily in-your-face and general step-by-step task list utilizing the many fun and interesting quests and quest lines in the game, as well as skill requirements to move forward, would be a great feature of the game. You can also add bosses and distractions and diversions into this list, as the player would be more expected to be appropriate level to test these out. This would do a couple things for the new player. First would be the primary function: give the player a set goals and path to follow in case they ever feel lost and overwhelmed. Help them focus on what's in front of them and not everything else around them, because the game is just overwhelming at times. Secondly is it would give the players a reason to try and interact with other pieces of content they may have never even thought of trying. And if they don't like it, they can just move on and never look back. Or if they really enjoy it, they can continue experimenting with it and have fun and just enjoy the game. Now I want to tackle a topic that is one of the biggest problems for people who actually start enjoying the game: the UI. The UI in RuneScape is, well, to be honest, a mess. Additionally, everyone plays the game differently, and while I have seen many different suggestions on how this could be fixed, I have an idea of my own. But before that, let me express my personal issues with the UI. One of my biggest complaints is that there are so many windows that I feel I need to have open to access just in case, but so little screen real estate before I start having more interfaces than actual game. Past this, there is no real tutorial on how a lot of the more in-depth features work. So a lot of times you are doing a trial and error, which tends to lead to you messing up a good UI design you had going, and you just get frustrated and end up quitting. My personal suggestion on how to fix this is a bit more of a complex one for Jagex. That is, I do think that it's a good idea nonetheless. I think Jagex should add a community UI feature in the game. Just a nice little hub where you can go and upload your UI design with preset tags like PVM, skilling, bossing, or even specific skills. Players then can rate your UI, and the most popular ones will be featured at the top, the first one a new player would see, mind you. Or you can just go and search up the tag via user, or you just like what it's for. You know what I mean? I don't think this is a perfect fit to the problem, but I do feel like it is one that will help promote the community to actively share and even compete with each other to create cool and interesting design ideas. Additionally, it allows you as a player to freely swap between UIs without having to worry about the what if or the amount of work that just goes into copying someone else's UI, since you can't just upload it into your game. Combat is one of the most polarizing topics of RuneScape 3, and is both my favorite and most hated parts of the game as well. I could easily spend hours talking on this, mostly in circles, but I want to keep this fairly short and concise. Let's start though with the new player experience. As a new player, like playing right now, your intro combat experience is very slow and very painful. This isn't necessarily a bad thing though, but the problem is the community has yet to come up with any proper support systems on how to actively train your combat skills. Additionally, if you're using a style that isn't necromancy, you're going to have a lot harder of a time in the beginning. Luckily, questing can help boost your combat stats to like 50 plus, at which point the grinding is going to be a lot more bearable and a little bit more understandable. Overall, the intro combat experience needs a lot of work, and it is a topic that I personally don't feel qualified enough, at least yet, or honestly interested enough to really put the time into to give it a proper feedback that it needs. But other than the fact that I know it needs some help right now, I can't really give a proper feedback on the intro combat experience. This has everything to do though with the necromancy bringing in a huge overhaul to the many creatures in RuneScape. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that Jagex did this, but this definitely has affected the new player experience, and a lot of people just they don't know what to do, because it's a very daunting experience at first. But like I said, as you get going, it gets better. That being said, as you get into the bossing of RuneScape and the later stages of doing Slayer, the combat becomes so much more fun. I can't express how enjoyable it is to customize your PVM experience within RuneScape, being able to actively switch from an active gameplay where every button you press via your manual combat to a semi-active actions as other things are automated with Revolution, to then a full-on, I just want to focus on learning the mechanics of this boss fight while everything is done automatic with Revolution++. It is absolutely amazing, and I can't help express what my personal joy and pure freedom you have within RuneScape's combat style. If you haven't really experimented and gotten to this point in RuneScape 3, I definitely feel like you're missing on out on a very beautiful experience, but I also can't shame you, as getting to this point is very daunting and honestly time consuming. A lot of RuneScape players don't properly understand just how much time an average player is willing to put into a game, because not everyone can just AFK while they're at work and family events. They want to focus on those things. And so I can't help but feel like there's a big, what's the word for it? It's just daunting for that, the fact that the good stuff is so much later with combat, then the beginning portion just feels, it just needs work, right? It just needs work. That's the only thing I can really express. Skilling is one of RuneScape's more defining features and has explored a lot of different avenues throughout the years. The current iteration of RuneScape skilling is one I personally love. Most, not all, but most of the skills in RuneScape can be leveled fairly quickly. This initially sounds like easy escape and, oh my god, easy 99s. And while it is, you have to keep some features in mind. Firstly, some skills go all the way up to 120. Allowing you to explore 21 more levels of content than you normally would. Additionally, a lot of the skills give you unlocks and features every single level. This isn't even an exaggeration either. If not nearly every level, almost every level. This means the skill do progress faster, but as you do, a lot of the more impactful content you can get unlocks at the later stages. So you do want to get there faster, but you do have more levels to go through. It's actually really awesome. Overall, I personally enjoy the faster paced leveling combined with the more true AFK nature of the slower skills. The game seems to strike a decent balance of both fast paced and active skills with the slow pace and just go clean your room skills. This allows me to change up which skill I'm working on, both depending on what I want to do in game or how my mood is. It just really depends on how you feel as a person. Second to last topic I want to talk about is the questing. It is no secret that RuneScape questing as a whole is one of the biggest attractions to the game. And this still holds true. The overall experience varies from quest to quest, but overall, it is a very enjoyable experience that's filled with love and some definite care. On one quest, you'll be a baron of an entire fort trying to fortify your defenses to repel the undead invaders. Then the next quest, you'll be helping some guy fix his clock tower. This wide range of quests helps keep things grounded because while some quests will set you on an epic adventure that will have bards sing tales of your heroic deeds for ages, others are just simple quests from locals who just need a little helping hand. It really helps shape the world as a whole, and the questing experience has never let me down in RuneScape, even in its lowest points. Lastly, I want to touch on the art in RuneScape, and I am by no means qualified to give a proper opinion on this, but I do want to give my 2 cents. As a whole, RuneScape visually is actually pretty darn good. It is by no means groundbreaking, but the art is still beautiful, and the new areas and NPCs look amazing. Well, while it is no secret that the older zones definitely need to be updated, they're by no means an actual eyesore to me as a newer player. But this could stem from the fact that I tend to play primarily older games in my spare time, so my opinion might be a little skewed here. Regardless, I have to give props where props are due. The team overall over at Jagex are making headway in updating these older zones, and I do look forward to checking them out as they are completed. Like I said before, the art design in RuneScape definitely needs to be updated in some of the old areas, but it is still overall very nice to look at and is by no means an eyesore. My overall experience in RuneScape has been a very positive one. The game definitely has its low points, primarily in the beginning, but with some simple care and attention to the game, you can have a wonderful and expansive world of quests, bosses, and events that you can experience and have a wonderful time. It is hard for me to give a wholehearted recommendation to this game to anyone with just how overwhelming and daunting the new player experience can be. But if you are willing to take your time and explore the game, I can promise you will make some wonderful memories and have a very lovely experience. I look forward to playing this game for at least another year and hopefully a lot longer. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.